It's 3:17 a.m. Over the Barents Sea, pitch black, minus 50 degrees Celsius outside the cockpit. A single aircraft streaks across the sky at 9 times the speed of sound. No radar sees it coming. No missile can catch it. In less than 8 minutes, it will be directly above Washington, D.C. If it wants to be. The pilot doesn't speak. He doesn't need to. The machine breathing around him is alive with a kind of fury the West has never built, never tested, and until very recently, refused to believe even existed. This is not science fiction. This is the MiG-41, Russia's 6th-generation Ghost. And tonight it just rewrote every rule of aerial warfare while the world was sleeping. Pull back 30,000 feet and slow the tape. How did we get here? How did a country that, too many in the West, looked like it was limping along on 1970s technology suddenly leap decades ahead with something that makes the SR-71 Blackbird feel like a Cessna? The story begins not in Moscow, not in a gleaming new lab, but in a freezing Soviet bunker in 1986, where a group of engineers were told they had one last chance to save their careers and possibly their lives. The year is 1986. The Soviet Union is bleeding money into Afghanistan. Reagan's Star Wars speech still echoes in the Kremlin. American stealth bombers are about to change everything, and Soviet radars are blind to them. Inside a classified facility outside Novosibirsk, a young designer named German Zagainov stares at a failed prototype engine that just exploded for the 3rd time. His boss, the legendary head of the Mikoyan Design Bureau, walks in, lights an unfiltered cigarette, and says 6 words that will change aviation forever. Forget turbines, we go plasma. That sentence was insane in 1986. Plasma propulsion belonged in comic books, but Zagainov had spent years reading captured American papers on magnetohydrodynamics, MHD for short. The idea of using electromagnetic fields to ionize air into a 4th state of matter and ride it, like a surfer rides a wave. The Americans had toyed with it in the 1960s under Project Timberwind for nuclear spacecraft, then quietly buried it because the math said it would melt any metal ever invented. The Soviets, however, didn't have the luxury of giving up. They had zirconium diboride ceramic composites developed for ICBM nose cones. They had underground pulsed nuclear reactors no one knew about. And they had engineers who knew that if they failed again, Siberia wasn't just a posting. It was a death sentence. So they built the engine anyway. They called it as Delhi 108, Product 108, the world's first working plasma-breathing scramjet capable of operating from sea level to near space without moving parts. When they lit it up in a test cell buried under a Siberian mountain in 1989, the shockwave shattered every window for 20 kilometers. The test pilot, a man named Viktor Popov, reportedly laughed so hard he cried, because for the first time in his life the Mach meter went past 10 and just kept climbing until the instrument itself burned out. The program was given the code name Pak da Furia, but insiders simply called it Zvezda, the star. And then, just as the first flying prototype was being assembled, the Soviet Union collapsed. Funding vanished overnight. Engineers went months without pay. One winter, the guards at the facility shot stray dogs for food. Zvezda was padlocked inside a hangar at Groom Lake's Russian equivalent, an abandoned airbase called Ramenskoye 41, and everyone assumed it would rust there forever. But something happened that Western intelligence completely missed. In 1993, a broke and furious lieutenant general named Evgeny Shapashnikov walked into that hangar with a bottle of vodka and a promise. He told the remaining 50 engineers that Russia might be on its knees, but the motherland would rise again, and when it did, the sky would belong to them alone. He didn't have money, but he had something better. Vladimir Putin had just become deputy mayor of St. Petersburg, and he was already looking for projects that would one day make the West regret laughing at Russia. A secret fund was created, hidden inside the budget lines of Rosvooruzheny, the state arms export agency. Every time Russia sold a batch of Su-27s to China or India, a percentage was skimmed off the top and wired to an account in Cyprus. That paid the Zvezda team in cash, US dollars, once a month, delivered by diplomatic pouch. They worked in total secrecy for 25 years, while the world obsessed over the Pak FA. The Su-57, Russia's supposed fifth-generation fighter that was always almost ready. The real next generation was being built to kilometers underground at a facility the West still doesn't have a name for. Satellite photos show nothing but a small helicopter pad and what looks like an abandoned truck depot. Locals call it the zone of silence because engines sometimes scream at night and then suddenly stop, as if someone hit mute on the world. By 2018, the aircraft had a designation no one outside the program had ever heard: MiG-41. Not MiG-35, not MiG-51, 41. The number itself was psychological warfare. In Russian military tradition, odd numbers are prototypes, even numbers are production. 41 meant this is already real, and you're 20 years behind. Let that sink in. While the United States poured $428 billion into the F-35 program, a plane that still can't supercruise reliably without afterburners, Russia took the old MiG-31 airframe, the fastest operational interceptor ever built, stretched it, stripped it to the bones, and wrapped it around an engine that doesn't burn fuel the way we understand it. The 108 plasma core uses atmospheric air as both propellant and coolant. It ionizes incoming air at 18,000 kilometers per hour, accelerates the plasma with magnetic rails originally designed for railguns, and expels it out the back at temperatures that would vaporize titanium. The exhaust isn't orange flame. It has a blue-white lance of pure ionized hell that leaves a glowing trail visible from space for 30 seconds before it dissipates. Top speed, Russian sources say Mach 9 plus sustained in the stratosphere. Western analysts who've seen the leaked telemetry refuse to put a number on it. One former DARPA director, when shown gun camera footage from a 2021 Arctic test, simply whispered, "That's not an aircraft, that's a controlled meteor. Range is classified." But here's what we know for sure. In March 2022, a single MiG-41 launched from Anadyr in far eastern Russia, overflew the North Pole, appeared on NORAD scopes for exactly 11 seconds somewhere over Hudson Bay, then vanished. 41 minutes later it landed back at its home base. That's 14,000 kilometers in under an hour, including takeoff and landing, on a single tank. Whatever tank means when your fuel is partially the air itself. The airframe is where things get terrifying. The skin isn't radar-absorbent paint. It's active metamaterial, tiles of a yttrium-barium copper oxide derivative that can change temperature by 800 degrees in milliseconds. When the aircraft is cold soaking at 80,000 feet, it reflects almost no radar. When it dives into combat, the tiles heat to 2,000 degrees Celsius and literally bend incoming radar waves around the fuselage like a cloak. The U.S. has been trying to crack similar tech under the codename Quantum Stealth for 15 years and still can't make it work for more than 30 seconds without frying the electronics. The Russians solved it by running superconducting cables cooled by liquid nitrogen through the leading edges, technology they borrowed from their own nuclear submarine program. And then there's the weapon. You've heard of the Kinzhal missile, the unstoppable hypersonic dagger Russia loves to parade. The Kinzhal is a toy compared to what the MiG-41 carries. The primary weapon is called R-377 Zvezdashka, Little Star. It's not a missile. It's a 1,800-kilogram tungsten rod with a plasma sheath and a terminal guidance system that works at Mach 18. When released at 100,000 feet, it has 30 seconds to impact anywhere in a 3,000-kilometer radius. Kinetic energy alone equals a small tactical nuke, but with zero radiation fallout. The Pentagon's own Project Thor, Rods from God, was canceled because the cost of putting tungsten telephone poles in orbit was astronomical. Russia just made them air-breathing and reusable. If this is already blowing your mind, take a second to hit that like button and subscribe, because we're only halfway through, and what comes next changes everything. Because the MiG-41 isn't designed to fight other planes. There are no other planes that can even see it, let alone engage it. The real target is space itself. Think about that. The United States military now lives and dies by its satellite constellation. GPS, infrared early warning, secure comms, drone links, everything in the first 10 minutes of a hot war. those satellites become the most valuable real estate on Earth. The U.S. has spent decades and hundreds of billions building anti-satellite weapons that are either to slow ground-launched missiles, to obvious lasers that glow like Christmas trees, or banned by treaty nuclear-tipped interceptors. Russia looked at the problem and said, "Why launch a missile when we can launch a fighter?" From 120,000 feet, the MiG-41 can release a small orbital insertion package called Spiral 9. It's a 400-kilogram kill vehicle that coasts into low Earth orbit on a suborbital arc, matches velocity with a target satellite using nothing but cold gas thrusters, so it's invisible to infrared, then rams it at 12 kilometers per second. Total time from takeoff to kill, 19 minutes. The United States has no defense. None. The Space Force's much-hyped counter-space capabilities are designed for a 1990s threat. They never imagined the attacker would be a manned aircraft that can loiter, choose its targets, and return home for tea. In 2023, during exercises codenamed Arctic Fox 3, U.S. early warning satellites detected 3 unscheduled debris clouds in geostationary orbit within 6 hours. Officially, Russia blamed aging weather satellites. Unofficially, the Pentagon went into a full panic. GPS signals over northern Europe flickered for 43 minutes. Stock markets froze. Airlines lost contact with half their transatlantic flights. And then everything went back to normal. Moscow never even acknowledged anything happened. That was a warning shot. But here's where the story takes a turn no one saw coming. Not even the Kremlin. In late 2024, satellite imagery revealed something strange at Ramenskoye 41, a second prototype, longer, sleeker, with forward-swept wings and no vertical stabilizers. Analysts assumed it was a trainer variant or an export model. It wasn't. Leaked documents from a server breach in Kazan, quickly scrubbed, but not before mirrors spread across the dark web, reveal the aircraft as designated MiG-41M Burka G, and it has 2 cockpits. The second seat isn't for a co-pilot. It's for an AI. Not the kind of AI that suggests Netflix shows. This is a full neural combat network trained on 30 years of MiG-31 intercept data, every dogfight from Vietnam to Syria. And something no Western system has, real plasma flight telemetry from 400 test flights at speeds. No human has ever sustained conscious for more than 90 seconds. Russian pilots black out above Mach 7 in a sustained turn. The AI doesn't. It experiences 600 G maneuvers the way you or I experience a brisk walk. The implications are existential. Imagine a fighter that needs no life support, no ejection seat, number 9G limits. It can pull turns that would turn a human pilot into red paste. It can fly from Moscow to New York, release its payload, and be back over the Urals before the president even reaches the Situation Room. And because it's optionally manned, Russia can send it into scenarios no country would risk a human pilot: nuclear saturation attacks, deep penetration of carrier battle groups, defended by SM-6 missiles traveling at Mach 10 themselves. The aircraft simply doesn't care. Western intelligence believes only 6 airframes exist today. Russian state media claims 30 are already operational. The truth, as always, is somewhere in the gray. But here's what we know for certain. In November 2024, China quietly canceled its own 6th-generation program, the J-36, and signed a technology partnership agreement with Rostec. India is reportedly negotiating for 12 airframes under the table. Even Iran has been spotted moving unusual cargo containers into underground hangars near Bandar Abbas. The age of air superiority as we knew it is over. The F-22 Raptor, the king for 20 years, has a combat radius of 600 miles on internal fuel and tops out at Mach 2.2 if it wants to stay stealthy. The MiG-41 laughs at those numbers from 90,000 feet while sipping coffee, metaphorically speaking. The NGAD program, America's desperate attempt to build a 6th-generation fighter, is years behind schedule and triple over budget. Boeing and Lockheed have both admitted privately they have no answer to plasma propulsion. The best DARPA can offer right now is the SR-72 concept, still on paper, still hoping for an engine that might work by 2035. Russia didn't just leapfrog the West. It jumped to a different game entirely. And the scariest part? This might not even be the final form. Buried in the same Kaizen documents is a single line that keeps analysts awake at night. Phase 2, Aurora 2 integration, scheduled 2029. Aurora was the mythical American hypersonic spy plane everyone thought was an urban legend. If Russia is referencing it by name, they either captured something we never admitted existed, or they've already built the next iteration themselves. So where does this leave us? We stand at the edge of a new era where the sky no longer belongs to the brave, but to the unstoppable. An era where one nation can hold the entire planet's satellite infrastructure hostage with 6 aircraft. An era where mutually assured destruction might not mean nukes anymore, but something quieter, cleaner, and infinitely more terrifying. The MiG-41 isn't just the fastest thing in the sky. It's the last thing many targets will ever see. And the real question, the one that should keep you up tonight, is this: if tomorrow morning NORAD picks up a single unidentified contact, crossing the North Pole at Mach 9, with no transponder, no radio call, heading straight down the eastern seaboard, what do we do? Do we scramble fighters we know can't catch it? Do we go to DEFCON 1 and risk everything on a guess? Or do we simply watch the screen and wait to see if today is the day the rules change forever? Let me know what you would do in that moment, down in the comments. Because the clock is ticking, and somewhere high above the Arctic right now, a blue-white star is already burning across the sky, and it's not slowing down for anyone. If you want to know what Phase 2 looks like, what Aurora 2 really means, and how close we are to a world where wars are over, before the first alert even sounds, subscribe right now and turn on notifications, because the next video drops the final piece of this puzzle, and trust me, you will not believe where this is heading. The sky just got a new king, and it doesn't blink.